And welcome back, everyone, to One on One with Aziz and Nate, hashtag Triple O Show. And our final part of the draft, we're going to talk about happy stuff now.
Yeah, positive.
It's in on a positive note. The stuff we liked about the draft. So, I mean, obviously I love the Hawks, but we spent a whole section on them. So, a team that I really loved their picks were the Boston Celtics. They drafted Romeo Langford, Grant Williams, Carson Edwards, and Tremont Waters, as well as picking up Taco Fall as the undrafted sign. And for a team, even though it was disappointing that they, lost in the playoffs, but still a team with a future, albeit uncertain future.
I would say so, yeah.
I was just loved all those picks. Romeo Langford, for one, I think was very, I guess if you can call him underrated, I think he was probably a top 10 talent this year, but, with the lack of success that Indiana had.
Right, the exposure, I don't think was there. He'll be a good. You think he'll be starting at the point guard position if they were to move Kyrie and Rozier's out of there?
I don't know. I think Marcus Smart is still there, so they probably would fill him in there because I think Langford projects, at least in the first couple of years, to be somewhat similar in that Brown and Tatum role. So I don't think you want to have those three guys on the court at the same time, but I think there's good potential there.
Yeah, he's a good ball handler. Can definitely score the ball. Like you said, I was surprised to see a guy like Tremont Waters, be drafted out of LSU. He's also can just stroke the ball. But yeah, with a guy like Carson Edwards, who I thought had an opportunity to go a bit higher.
I think his size is what.
Yeah, exactly. And he's also, I guess, a two guard. Can really shoot the ball, can score. But with those few guys, I think they'll have some nice pieces off the bench.
And I think with them drafting Tremont and Carson, that kind of is a smoke signal to Kyrie leaving and being uncertain about if Rozier stays or not.
Where do you think Taco could see himself in the rotation? I mean, we're seeing Al Horford potentially make an exit.
Right, and they just got rid of Aaron Baines as well. So, like I said, you never know because at this point right now, I think he's got more grace in the Celtics organization than Robert Williams had last year. So, all he has to do is not miss his first meeting, and he'll be there. So, I think that it's intriguing because, he's definitely going to be a defensive presence. That's what you bring him in for that size and that length to be able to block shots and get rebounds. So, I don't see why not. He couldn't probably start the season, putting him next to Tatum and Brown and whoever else fills in that lineup. But
and Grant Williams is kind of like, I'd say a smaller Baby Davis. Can bully his way when needed. Maybe not at the NBA level, but could be maybe a versatile physical defender, even though a bit undersized.
That fits in that Boston culture.
Yeah, just grinding it out. So yeah, with the kind of the nature of things going into next year, I think they will have to experiment. And who knows how Gordon Hayward is kind of gonna fall into the mix of things as well.
Very
because at this stage he should be the veteran, but through his sheer play, it seems like he's somewhat of an afterthought.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what happens to that team pretty soon, I would bet.
I think the good thing though is that with Brad Stevens being a college coach, he's used to coaching younger guys, and that's what it seems like the majority of the roster is going to be this year. And who knows? Maybe we do get that Boston from 2 years ago because with Kyrie out the door, and I mean, definitely Horford will be missed if he doesn't resign. But you're going to have bigger roles for, Tatum and Brown, the ones that they were looking for going into the season. Like you said, if a guys like Langford and Edwards and Waters just come in hungry and buy into the culture, maybe you do get a better team atmosphere than you had this year. So I think it'll be interesting. interesting to see.
Yeah. No, Waters, I remember watching all the way back when he was in like 8th grade. Never grew, even from 8th grade. But hey, might even have some old Isaiah Thomas reminiscence.
Right.
So yeah, I like that squad, how they've kind of pivoted themselves for the next move.
Yeah. So what's a team that you like what they did during the draft?
Well, honestly, man, I didn't find many organizations to have like we were talking about earlier, like as broad a chemistry fit as somebody like the Celtics might.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought all the teams that went, kind of 1 through 4, were fairly successful.
Pelicans, man.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna be in just such an awesome position to explore multiple lineups, and I think they're positioning themselves in terms of their culture right now, allowing their veteran Drew Holiday really to lead that group of young guys, still being young enough himself.
David Griffin, GM of the year already.
Man, when you look back at that list, it's like 20 line items.
Right.
Guys, so,
we gave up Anthony Davis and got the entire 2020 draft.
Yeah. And shoot, the Lakers are even begging for more help.
Right.
So yeah, I really like where they're headed.
So they got Williamson and at 1. So I don't think anything needs to be said about that.
Yeah.
Zion. Then they got.
Who?
That guy.
Okay,
the next coming of LeBron Jesus. That guy. Then they got Hayes at 8. So let's talk about Hayes.
Yeah, that was an interesting one.
What do you think about him?
That might have been, I think, the earliest shocker. Because look, I didn't know Jackson Hayes until I looked at his career tape.
Who?
Right. He played I think 6-7 minutes a game.
Not very much.
Yeah, but is more of a defensive oriented guy, shot blocker. He's tall, long, and athletic, which is something I'm sure the Pelicans are gonna need. They're missing that right now. Their Anthony Davis guy, he was doing that and that much more.
And everything.
So yeah, that'll be a big area for them to fill. But if he's kind of given the message to just focus on that, with guys like Lonzo, Zion, Drew, being the offensive players, they could probably enhance his level of play as well.
I think he comes in and you think, I think he has potential. I just didn't see him being a lottery pick is what confused me about it. But nonetheless, I think he's an intriguing player to place next to Zion. I guess your thinking is, and especially since he came from the same school, if he comes in and can kind of play a role like we saw from Jared Allen this year.
Right, exactly.
Then, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think
Capella, maybe if they can get some solid pick and roll. I think a lot of teams should consider having a guy like that on their squad. Yeah. That's not a stretch 5, but can still play, traditional fundamental defense.
Need someone to anchor your defense.
Exactly.
So I think defensively, you definitely have a lot of potential with having him and Zion on the floor, and then especially, we saw what Drew Holiday did 2 years ago, locking up the entire Trailblazer squad.
Yeah.
So and then Lonzo himself is a good defender as well. So the potential's there defensively. I guess just how does it end up working out on the offensive end? So that remains to be seen. Then they took Nikola Alexander Walker, who is actually the cousin of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the Clippers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not familiar with him.
They have a similar game as well.
Okay. Really?
Big guards, kind of smooth,
Okay.
not necessarily quick, just very crafty. So
I like that.
I think that's a good pick as well. And then I can't remember the name of the last guy they took. I just know the announcers called him the Brazilian Josh Hart, which I was like, okay, but then you already have Josh Hart.
Right.
So I guess that works. But Marcus Duddle, I'm not even going to try. I'm not looking at it right now. But
can't find it, yeah.
Yeah, he was a 6'6" Brazilian. I guess they're looking at him to become a 3-and-D guy. So,
okay.
Anytime.
Marcos Luzada Silva.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, anytime you have a foreign guy that's, in that range, there's always going to be potential. Think of the Sixers when they drafted Timothy Lalu
Yeah.
Cabrera. Like there's always
He's on our Bulls now.
yeah. There's those guys are always out there, so you just kind of got to put them on the floor and
See what they can do.
Yeah, like my guy Bruno Caboclo. Hey, I like what I saw him at the end of the year.
Look,
but
man,
guys got to get on the court. That's
yeah, hey, that you're absolutely right.
2 years away from being 2 years away.
So yeah, what do you think about Memphis? Obviously, they're making a massive switch from Conley to new dynamic point guard.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
John
what do you
Morant.
think will be kind of his immediate impact?
I like their draft as well. They selected John Morant with the second pick, and I'm interested to see how the pieces fit around him, because like you said, with them trading Mike Conley to the Jazz, like you said, they said here's the keys. You're going to be our star player, our the franchise. So I'm interested to see how a Jaren Jackson and Jonas Valanciunas fit around them. My guy Bruno, but as well as Ivan Rabb and Tyler Dorsey and even Marshawn Brooks if they decide to keep him. I saw what John Morant did at the college level, and I was completely, impressed, especially that first tournament game against Marquette. So you would figure the translation would be, well, you're playing in the NBA where, the court's going to be a little more spread out and you're playing with better players. So
his passing game strong, like you said. Yeah, folks will be finishing for him. He, and I think that's why he was taken over RJ. It's just because I think he fits that team a little bit better. He's a better distributor. It seems like he's more confident in who he's gonna be at the next level versus RJ. And we'll talk about that Knicks pick in just a second. But yeah, Grizzlies also just play such tough basketball, and he seems like he's a real hard, nose to the ground guy. He's just gonna grind.
It should fit that culture.
Yeah, so I like it a lot.
And then they took Brandon Clark as well.
Yeah.
Ultra athletic forward out of
He'll just be a hard worker. Gonzaga, yeah.
And so I think he fits in with that,
Exactly.
Ivan Rabb, Jaren Jackson, front line, and said pick and roll is all we need you to do is catch oops from Morant.
Catch some oops, freaking block shots and rebound, man.
Occasionally hit a jump shot unless Jaren Jackson's flinging up that. I don't know what that jump shot is.
He has got the sauce. He can knock it down.
But yeah, like I said, I think he fits in well with Morant, and I'm looking forward to seeing their pick and roll, as well as another summer league gym I'll be on the lookout for.
That's gonna be some nice highlights, man. And then RJ at 3, for the Knicks, they look back, that's their only pick.
Right.
Look, if you weren't gonna get Zion at the number 1, which y'all missed out on that, I think RJ is actually a better fit than Ja would have been. He's a guy to me that could 1,000% thrive off of just that environment alone.
Yeah.
That could really heighten his level of play. And the whole team. So I think he's just going to be an immediate spark plug. He's not going to be shy about shooting the ball, taking it in. So, I think that's a good fit for them. He already seems to be a celebrity. So
I agree. I think that's a good place for him. Like I said, with his personality, just the way he's been talking leading up to the draft, he seems like he's ready for the moment and ready to be what this team has been looking for. I don't have concerns about him. I mean, their culture of the Knicks is, a whole nother story. I don't have concerns about him developing as a player. I'm definitely intrigued as far as the RJ Barrett, Kevin Knox duo. I think that has potential to be as well as having
I was just asleep on Kevin Knox. You just woke me back
right.
up, man.
And Mitchell Robinson at the 10 just seems like a guy that'll fit in.
Dennis Smith.
And see, that's the question. I said, where are they going with their point guard situation?
See, I think that RJ ultimately will not be. He'll be a James Harden point guard. wherein he'll have the ball in his hands a lot and will still continue to facilitate, but his goal is just to score, number one. Dennis Smith is going to to me, have to shape himself into being more of that distributed point guard, which for them might not even be a good fit because RJ will still have the ball in his hands the majority of the time.
Which is why he didn't work out with Luka.
Right.
Yeah, I think just what are they going to do at the point guard position between Dennis Smith and Ntilikina? Aquina? Are you going to bring in another guy?
Right.
I think if they, I think right now at this point, if they are unable to bring in one of these free agents, top tier free agents that they're hoping for, which at the moment I don't think it looks like it. In my wholehearted opinion, if I were the Knicks, even though Durant's tore his ACL, I think you have to do what the Lakers did with Anthony Davis and just trade the house for him now, because I don't think you're in a position with your organization to be developing players, and you're not a 5-year plan organization.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Yeah.
So even if Durant, is going to sit out the year, and comes back 70% of himself, at least you have Durant.
Exactly.
So I think if you're the Knicks, you have to, offer. I don't think Warriors would want Dennis Smith, but you got to offer them a Knox, Barrett, a couple draft picks, like just the way your situation is.
Yeah, that's a tough sell.
But say that doesn't happen with Barrett, Knox, Robinson, Ntilikina, Alonzo Trier, who else? Damian Dotson. I think they just got to go ultra offense. Because they're clearly not, a defensive team, defense stopper, but they got a lot of guys that can put the ball on the floor and get baskets. So if you just go
fast pace,
fast pace, get the ball at the floor, score when you can. I think that'll definitely benefit them with the kind of players that they have. And they're not a half court team.
Exactly, they're not gonna have set offenses, or even really the players to execute said offense. All those guys on that team are fairly raw. No one is a knockdown shooter.
Right.
No one is a, So, they'll have to figure that out. And you're right, man. I think they were betting a lot on the possibility of Durant and Kyrie, colluding, even, without them having to do any work, just to come over to New York, and that's not going to happen now. So, we'll see. I know, like we said, Spike's ready to bring RJ a cake or something.
Right.
So
I think but back to the positives. I think RJ, that was a good, like I said, it's a good situation for him. I think he'll more than rise to the moment. And, I guess depending on who's healthy in New Orleans, maybe RJ's the front runner for Rookie of the Year right now, because he's gonna get the touches.
Definitely. I think man. I think he's gonna have I think he's gonna have the most value to his team.
He's
based on the players there.
Yeah. So maybe he gives,
and they could actually be good. You know what I'm saying?
Think so? In
decent.
In the West.
Better than the Knicks.
Who is the Grizzlies' primary scorer this year?
I'm gonna say it's Ja.
You think so?
Yeah, and Jackson number 2. I'd have to look back at their roster because I paid them barely any attention last year after Gasol left.
And that's my thing. I just don't think, like you said, the talent is there, but as they always say, there's growing pains.
Yeah.
So I don't think this year is the year. So I expect them to. And then you remember, do we need to go down the list of point guards in the West?
Yeah. No, I'm not throwing them up there.
No, I'm just saying as far as competing against people.
It's gonna be a tough.
Season. I think this year, and just not knowing what's your system. I can definitely see them later on in the year, him showing what we saw from Trae Young.
Yeah,
once
exactly.
You get a groove in and figuring out where it is. But I expect there to definitely be some growing pains on that team. Yeah. So
Okay, I
That's
can see
why
that.
I think being in the Eastern Conference, I think RJ
Yeah.
has a little bit more leeway, especially with the players around him as well. Because, like we
Okay.
said, they're not going to be facilitating. He's going to have guys that are going to get buckets, and so
Yeah.
that's going to take the onus off of him. Whereas if you know the ball's in John Morant's hands, Jaren Jackson bring the ball to the floor. Am I going to trust Valanciunas is giving me 20 and 10
Right.
tonight? You know,
No. Yeah, you're right, and I think there will be enough highlights in the garden to, the narrative will be there.
right? I mean, unless Bruno turns into Giannis, but that's I'm gonna be plugging that all year, so
Hey,
just let you guys know
Fingers
that.
crossed, man. But I think that's the interesting thing about this year's draft, maybe in contrast to last year, is even though there was a caliber drop off, say after the top 3, even everyone after that is incredibly, I think, high potential in their role.
Yeah, there's a lot of solid players.
Exactly. So they can fit into different organizations very well. Because I'm even thinking about Hunter. If he can be very well rounded, so kind of a grounding piece in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Which he again the narrative goes to him and Trey really being like a top tier duo. So we'll see. It's a lot of good guys this year.
For sure. Were there any other picks that you liked?
Well, look, man, we were talking about Bol slipping so far, which is obviously due to some things we're not clear about. All of the GMs are aware of, but I am glad that he's going to Denver. So he's going to be next to a incredibly talented center who's really going to be handling all of the pressure to execute in that role, which might give Bobo just some moments to slip in and play a particular piece in there. But I'm surprised he dropped that low. I'm glad he did get drafted.
Yeah.
Because I think if he's able to stay healthy, he could be this generation's, X, whatever.
A new type. Yeah.
Exactly. He'll be a very unique type of player.
He could.
Karl Anthony Towns, but Karl Anthony Towns.
I was gonna say not even in like skill set or anything. I'm just thinking of Durant in the way of how he just changed the way like the positions
Players
and stuff
play.
like that. Not saying he's gonna be Durant by any means, but just having that type of player with that kind of size. Playing, non-traditional basketball, it just changes it. Like to have a player Bobo's size, shooting the ball where he's shooting it from, or doing whatever he's doing outside of the block, it just changes it. So, like you're saying, I think being in that situation on the Nuggets with the players that they already have there, like I said, it takes so much more pressure off of him, so he can just come in whenever he does. 5 minutes a game or 10 minutes a game, and then just develop from there. And even more so, say Michael Porter Jr. comes out this year and just has, the Ben Simmons second year, rookie year, and that just gives you even more confidence in what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I think that it'll definitely be interesting.
Yeah. Other than that, I wasn't really happy with, because the Bulls, we got at 30.
Daniel Gafford. I like Gafford.
I thought that was just kind of a throwaway pick. Might not see the floor often. Might have just been worth trading or, positioning that somewhere else. But
I could see that. I think he fits in because, you guys are kind of a up-tempo pace team. And so he's a guy that could kind of fit in a role like we saw Montrezl Harrell from the Clippers this year.
Okay.
Albeit someone has to pass him the ball. But as far as a guy, that's going to hustle, he's going to hit the boards, and he's going to finish strong.
Yeah.
I do like Gafford.
Okay.
Now, you guys could have had that if you had kept Jordan Bell a couple years ago. But,
Look, man.
management is management.
Seriously, that's our MO. And, we talked about Little also falling just
To
a
Portland.
ton. Fortunately, he was picked up in Portland, where I think also culturally, that will be a great fit for him.
Oh yeah.
They're kind of the underdog. No one's paying attention to me type deal. He just went through that experience.
I think he's exactly what I guess what his potential is being listed as. He's exactly what they need because they've always been missing a small forward and a dynamic small forward. And although we didn't get to see his full game at North Carolina, we know like going into the season he was projected to be top 10, top 5 pick. So just like the bowl example, putting him next to CJ and Damian Lillard, and then especially when Nurkic comes back, I expect to see. I wouldn't be surprised if he's starting after All-Star break for that team.
Yeah, I think funny enough, he is a player. If he's still there, if my brain is checking me correctly, I think Aminu actually could be a very good sort of enabler of that, or teacher, guide him through how he's evolved in that role. Because he's gonna have to be more of a versatile offensive player, not just a garbage, get rebounds, get dunks type of thing. He will need the mid range, be able to pass the ball out of the paint. So I think that's gonna be a good fit for him.
Yeah, because I think potentially going forward, he has more to offer than what you're getting from, like you said, an Aminu or a Mo Harkless at the moment. So, being with the players, depending on who he's sharing the floor with, he won't be in such a big role where he needs to facilitate. Right. So maybe because that's really what Portland's been missing. Guys that could just go get buckets when CJ and Dame weren't on the floor.
Right.
We saw that a little bit from Rodney Hood last year, Seth Curry in some instances. Get my guy Anthony Simons on the floor. But, I think if Nassar Little can just go out there, just put the ball up, get some shots up. What did Myra Leonard's do last year?
Seriously, I mean, there will be moments.
Shoot the ball.
You can get your 20-point games if you need them. So good for him. I mean, there's a few guys I think that are gonna need to take that chip on their shoulder and just carry it with them into the season, because this will still continue to be kind of a development journey for most teams. It's still looking at Golden State's off the map now, but with the potential of Toronto still being at the top, Houston, Lakers, Clippers, Denver, all those young cores are really just gonna have to focus on the next few years.
Yeah, that window is open.
So man. Well, I know it was quite an emotional evening as well. If y'all catch the playback, it seemed like everybody needed a box of tissues.
Right.
But no, I'm just happy, for all these dudes. I think it was a really good college season, and a great cap to what was an amazing NBA season. So we're definitely looking forward to Summer League. And,
yes.
And
we will be at Summer League this year, so expect
we'll keep y'all updated, man.
A big recap for us.